Okay, let's unpack this. You've handed us a fascinating set of sources today, all centered around a truly expansive concept, secrets revealed,
Hmm.
and what the source calls its many temporal markers.
Right.
So, our mission in this deep dive is to explore this complex framework as it's presented in the material.
Yeah, exactly.
Understand the major events it identifies as crucial indicators, and sort of connect the dots to see what these ideas might imply for our understanding of the world.
And it covers a lot of ground.
It really does. Be warned, the source covers a vast landscape.
Mhm.
We're talking global finance, some pretty intriguing historical claims, even discussions about, well, space.
Base alien.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's crucial, I think, for you listening to remember that our role here is simply to unpack these ideas as the source presents them.
Absolutely. We're not here to endorse or validate the historical accuracy necessarily,
No.
but to understand the framework as the source defines it.
Exactly.
What's truly fascinating here, I think, is just the sheer scope of this material.
It's huge.
It really is. It offers a unique, maybe controversial lens through which to view current events, even potential future developments.
And it's all tied together by this overarching idea, this ongoing process of revelation.
That's the core concept.
So let's dive into those core concepts then. The source frequently uses the phrase temporal markers. How does it define these?
Well, the source defines them as specific key events or trends that, manifest over time.
Okay.
They serve as signposts, basically, signaling larger underlying shifts.
Like ripples on the surface?
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
Indicating powerful currents beneath the surface. It's a good way to put it.
And the really big one, the sort of umbrella concept containing many of these markers, is what the source calls secrets revealed, or SR.
Yes.
It's described as a very large, open-ended temporal marker and data set, spanning multi-decades, maybe even centuries.
That's what it claims, yeah. Multi-decades, potentially even multi-hundred years.
Wow.
And it's structured in what the source calls a pyramid fashion.
Okay, what does that mean?
It means certain core areas sort of initiate the process and drive these revelations to the forefront.
Right.
Initially, this secrets revealed focuses heavily on, well, politics and money, those interconnected worlds.
Makes sense.
But as the process unfolds, the force claims it broadens its scope, shifting to what it terms real history, then moving into space-related discussions and eventually even anti-gravity topics.
So it's like an evolution of information being revealed.
Exactly. That's how the source presents it, an evolution of information.
And how does this process of revelation actually happen? Is it like a sudden floodgate opening or more gradual?
The speaker uses a pretty striking metaphor, actually.
Oh, yeah.
A drip, drip, drip flood of information.
Drip, 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 flood. Of
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they claim that as this flood period intensifies, traditional media, or what they call legacy media,
Right.
will actually lag behind, just,
Yeah.
Unable to keep up with the sheer volume and speed of the information flow.
So overwhelmed, basically.
That's the idea.
Hmm.
It's also worth noting, the source points out its own limitations regarding forecasting accuracy.
Oh, interesting. What does it say?
It states that its most reliable predictions come within mere weeks, maybe, and generally within the first 2 years of a 20-year forecast.
2 years out of 20.
Right. Anything beyond that, it suggests, is essentially a gift, not something they can reliably predict.
Okay, so there's some humility there, or at least an acknowledgement of limits.
I see that, yeah.
So we're talking about a process that, according to the source, is already well underway. What are some of these specific temporal markers that the source claims have already started to pop up? Things suggesting this process is active now.
Well, interestingly, one of the more recent ones the source points to is what it calls the encapsulated Earth scenario.
Encapsulated Earth, what's that?
It refers to the increasing accumulation of satellite debris in orbit.
Okay, space junk.
Right. But it specifically cites incidents like the reported damage to, I think it was 16 of Elon Musk's Starlink satellites.
From a solar flare, wasn't it?
Yeah, supposedly from a solar flare. The source sees this not just as a technical problem, but as a kind of symbolic encapsulation of our world.
Signaling what? A restriction?
Potentially, yeah. Maybe a restriction of outward exploration or a forced focus inward. That's the interpretation offered.
That's quite a specific read on it.
It is.
And then there's something the source calls the Israeli mistake. What does that entail?
Yeah, this one's described as a series of, well, millions of little tiny mistakes. That's the phrase used. Things that initially seemed illogical, maybe nonsensical.
Okay.
The force claims that the election of Donald Trump actually derailed their plans related to whatever this was.
Yeah, I interrupted something.
That's the suggestion. And while Iran hasn't explicitly shown up in this specific context yet, the source indicates that there are existing ties. It even goes so far as to claim that the Iranian government and its Islamic councils are Khazars, which is a whole other thread we need to pull on.
Definitely. We'll circle back to the Khazarian aspect. Beyond those specific incidents, though, what are some wider global indicators the source points to?
It mentions a resurgence of planes falling from the sky again.
Right, that's been mentioned.
And it also points to government in desperation as a big temporal marker.
Governments acting desperately.
Yeah. These are presented as clear signs that this larger secrets revealed process is continuing, maybe even accelerating.
And speaking of big shifts, the source talks about an unprecedented Crackup boom in the banking system. That sounds major.
It is. It's a significant prediction in the material.
What does this process look like, according to the source?
It's described as something that could unfold over a couple of years, and is, in the source's view, completely unprecedented in modern times.
Okay.
The prediction is that large, established banks will be the first to fail, become totally non-functional, is the phrase used.
Wow. And smaller banks.
Smaller banks are expected to transition to what's called sound money and ultimately survive.
So a total restructuring of the financial landscape is the implication here.
That's exactly it.
And sound money in this context. It isn't just dollars or euros, is it? It sounds like a fundamental shift in what money is.
That's right. Yeah, the source defines sound money as tangible assets, like gold and silver.
Okay, hard assets.
Right, alongside certain cryptocurrencies. Cryptos are considered the fluid part of this new system.
But the fluid part, interesting. Are all cryptos included?
No, and there's a very specific warning here. The source suggests listeners avoid certain cryptos like XRP and Tether.
Why those specifically?
Because it claims they are bound to the old system and won't survive this transition. They're tied to the structures that are predicted to fail.
Got it. And how does the source view the current financial infrastructure, things like the SWIFT system or the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS?
The source is quite explicit here, and the language is, well, it's very strong.
Okay.
It directly calls the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS, the largest criminal corporation on the planet.
Wow. Okay. That's blunt.
Very. It alleges the BIS owns the World Bank, various European banks, even the Federal Reserve.
So Cruncher controls the whole system.
Views them all as mechanisms designed basically to charge exorbitant fees for moving money around.
Right.
The source predicts these institutions will eventually just go away as this Crackup boom progresses.
A complete dismantling then.
That's the picture painted.
There's also a rather curious marker mentioned. The Disney Temporal Marker. What's happening there, according to the source?
Yeah, it's interesting. The source identifies a giant backlash against Disney.
Which we've certainly seen elements of.
Right. But the source sees this as a significant cultural indicator, part of this bigger pattern. It claims this backlash is actually leading to the rise of a new industry.
A new industry? Doing what?
Specifically focused on critically examining and tearing apart Disney movies.
Yeah.
Pointing out what the source describes as bad and terrible stuff within their content.
So like deconstructing the messages.
Exactly. It implies a kind of public awakening to underlying messages or agendas that were previously maybe ignored or unnoticed.
It sounds like the source believes some people are more tuned into these shifts than others. How does it categorize awareness levels?
Yeah, it offers a breakdown. It suggests about 40% of the general population remains largely unaware of these unfolding events.
Okay, nearly half.
Then approximately 60% are described as somewhat aware, maybe sensing changes but not fully grasping the larger framework the source proposes.
Right, feeling something's off but not sure what.
Precisely. And then there's a small portion of what the source refers to as woo people.
Woo people.
Yeah, that's the term used. Those who it claims possess a deeper, perhaps more intuitive understanding of these shifts and really know what's happening.
Interesting terminology.
It is.
Now, let's pivot, because this is where it gets really intricate and maybe, as you said, controversial. The source's Khazarian narrative.
Right. This is a major part of the framework.
It traces back centuries, apparently, to a pivotal figure.
Yeah.
Tell us about Sabbatai Zevi and the year 1666.
Okay. Sabbatai Zevi is introduced in the source material as a Khazarian Messiah.
A Messiah figure?
Yes, who in 1666 supposedly amassed over 1 million followers. which the source claims was half the Khazarian population at the time.
1 million followers. That's substantial.
Huge. And the core of his teaching, according to this source, was a highly provocative concept: redemption through sin.
Redemption through sin. That sounds paradoxical, even disturbing.
It does.
If that was the core, how did that actually manifest in the lives of his followers? And what made such a philosophy appealing or effective for them, according to the source?
Well, the source claims this teaching allowed Khazars to essentially pretend to be a Jew, but practice their true religion.
Okay, so an outward appearance.
Exactly. An outward conformity while inwardly practicing something else, which the source controversially describes as a variant of Satan worship, supposedly hidden within a particular interpretation of Talmudic teachings.
That's a very heavy accusation.
Extremely. And the deception, as presented by the source, goes even deeper.
Deeper how?
They would allegedly pretend to convert to Islam or Christianity as well.
So infiltrating other religions too.
That's the claim. While secretly still practicing the underlying Talmudian stuff, as the source puts it, to ultimately return to Satan worship in secret.
Wow. It suggests a really long-term, multi-generational strategy of hidden influence.
That's precisely the implication within the source material, yes.
So, connecting this back to something you mentioned earlier, the source directly claims that the Iranian government and its Islamic councils are Khazars.
Yes, that is the explicit claim made in the source.
That suggests a really far-reaching influence, if true, according to this narrative.
It does.
Yeah.
And furthermore, the source attributes the invention of both communism and socialism to Khazars.
Invented them? How?
Stating they paid Karl Marx, who the source also identifies as a Khazar, to write about these systems. These systems, the source claims, are not legitimate systems in themselves, but merely tools. Tools designed for specific ends by this group.
So ideologies as weapons, essentially.
That's the framing.
And the alleged influence extends beyond political ideologies, right? What about other sectors, like media or finance?
Absolutely. The source alleges that Khazars owned Hollywood and publishing companies.
Implying significant control over narrative and information.
Yes. And beyond that, it makes a very specific claim regarding finance and, well, information warfare, I suppose.
Go on.
That private Western central banks, which also identifies as Khazars, paid to create Anonymous as a foil to QAnon.
Anonymous, the hacking group, created as a foil.
That's the claim, suggesting a deliberate attempt to manage public perception or counter-narratives, though it does add that Anonymous never really took off as intended.
Interesting. That brings us neatly to QAnon and Antifa. What does the source say about these groups within this broader framework?
Well, the source describes QAnon pretty bluntly as bogus, just a military op. It dismisses its perceived authenticity.
Okay, so not organic.
Not according to this source, no. Regarding Antifa, the source references deep web discussions, suggesting they are really worried about money, that anticipated deliveries, presumably funding or supplies, aren't happening.
And why not?
This, the source speculates, is potentially tied to what's going on in Ukraine and the seizing of assets in that region.
Implying a financial constraint is impacting their operations.
That seems to be the connection the source is drawing, yes.
Okay. Looking ahead now, the source also predicts some specific temporal markers coming up soon. What can we expect in the coming months, according to this material?
Right. For April, the source predicts a bunch of stuff happening, specifically related to money.
Just stuff. Vague, but points towards finance.
Yeah. It aligns with its earlier discussions about financial systems undergoing major shifts. So expect focus on money in April.
And then there's a very specific window in May, the 19th through the 27th, dubbed the 7 Days in May event.
Yes.
What's the significance of this particular time frame?
This period is pegged for very high emotional Kenshin value and agitation, something that the source says doesn't waver during those days.
High tension, potentially leading to something.
It suggests this could be a major political change or perhaps a culmination of ongoing tensions boiling over.
Okay.
And what's particularly noteworthy is the source's connection to the 1964 movie 7 Days in May.
The old political thriller. I know that movie.
Right, which depicted an attempted right-wing military coup in the U.S.
Okay. Why connect to that?
The source presents this movie as having been influenced by what it claims was Khazarian ownership of Hollywood at the time.
Implying a kind of historical foreshadowing or maybe narrative control related to that theme?
That's the implication drawn by the source, yeah.
Yeah.
Linking past media, it really does. August is presented as a major temporal marker for the space aliens discussion.
Space aliens. Okay. So, disclosure, what's the actual prediction?
The expectation isn't necessarily full, undeniable proof dropping from the sky.
Right.
It's more the conversation around space aliens or maybe anti-gravity stuff will become socially accepted, openly debated.
So moving from fringe to mainstream.
Exactly. No longer denigrated or swept away. Even if people don't universally believe it, it'll become a topic for, like, casual dinner conversation.
That in itself would be a huge shift in public consciousness.
A very significant shift, yeah. Opening up discussion on these once taboo topics.
So as we try to absorb all of this whole framework, what does it mean for us personally, according to the source? It touches on personal actions in this age of revelation.
Yeah, the speaker in the source provides examples of their own personal actions. Things like challenging local government, advocating for politician term limits, no health insurance for them, even barracks housing.
Pretty radical stances.
They are. And they describe submitting a bill of redress for something like illegal beach closures during lockdowns.
A bill of redress, demanding compensation.
Yes, but demanding payment not in Federal Reserve notes, which they dismissively call ferns,
Burns, okay.
but in what they consider constitutional money, specifically silver coins.
Silver coin, based on its actual value.
Defined by its inherent metallic value, yeah.
Yeah.
Referencing the constitutional definition, 416 grains of standard silver, or 371.25 grains pure silver, and demanding it at a rate of $1,000 per day.
Wow. So it's an assertion of a whole different financial philosophy, really.
Yeah.
Rejecting the current system.
Absolutely, challenging the legitimacy of fiat currency.
And ultimately, the source views living through this period, this time of secrets revealed, as a good thing, a reward.
That's right. The speaker explicitly sees living to witness these secrets revealed as a reward from the universe.
A reward. Why?
The claim is that once all the secrets are out, the sort of toxic environment of hidden agendas and suppressed information will dissipate.
Leading to a more open environment.
Yes. A more honest environment where even topics like space aliens can be discussed freely and people will be more open to learning new things without, prejudice or immediate dismissal.
Well, this deep dive has certainly presented a comprehensive and, as we've said, often controversial framework for understanding global events.
Definitely comprehensive.
From alleged historical machinations spanning centuries to predictions about our financial future and, even the emergence of intergalactic dialogue. It paints a picture of a world in serious flux, shedding its hidden layers, perhaps.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, stepping back from the specific claims for a moment, it certainly encourages a critical look at how we receive and interpret information, doesn't it?
It really does.
The core idea that knowledge, once obscured, is now supposedly breaking through, well, that suggests a potentially profound shift in societal consciousness.
Which leads to a pretty important question for everyone listening, I think.
Right. If we truly are, as this source suggests, in an age of revelation, how does that change your personal responsibility?
Your responsibility to seek out information.
To seek it out, to understand it, and maybe most importantly, to critically question the narratives presented to you, especially those narratives that really challenge conventional wisdom.
Yeah, a lot to think about there. You've given us so much to chew on today, offering a really unique perspective, drawn entirely from this source material on the world around us.
It's definitely a different lens.
It is. So stay curious, keep seeking answers, and as always, keep asking the big questions.